The late summer sun dipped behind the rolling hills of rural Montana, setting fire to the sky with streaks of orange and violet. On the edge of those hills sat a modest farm, old wooden barns with peeling red paint, a weather-worn farmhouse, and fields that stretched wide into the horizon. To anyone passing through, it looked like a struggling piece of land owned by a quiet woman trying to hold on to what little she had. And in truth, it was. Her name was Emily Carter, a 38-year-old single mother of two. To her neighbors, she was simply that quiet woman on the farm. They saw the worn denim overalls, the calloused hands, and the tired smile she gave at the grocery store. What they didn't see, what she never told, was the past she had carefully tucked away. Emily was once a Green Beret sniper, one of the most skilled in her unit, who had served overseas with precision, courage, and loyalty. She had lived through dust storms, firefights, and nights where silence meant survival. Yet, here in Montana, she only wanted peace. Emily's life now revolved around her children, Lily, age 10, with her mother's quiet determination, and Jacob, age 7, with a mischievous grin that reminded Emily of her late husband. After losing him in a tragic accident years earlier, Emily had chosen not to remarry. She believed her children needed stability, not more change. The farm was her anchor, a place where her kids could grow up running through fields rather than streets filled with trouble. But peace, as Emily knew too well, was fragile. The trouble began when a group of local men, boys in spirit, but old enough to know better, started harassing her farm. They weren't hardened criminals, they were entitled, restless young men who thought small-town life owed them entertainment. Led by a bitter man named Travis Harlan, they started small. Trespassing through her fields, throwing beer bottles into her yard, leaving mocking notes on her porch. "You don't belong here, city girl," one note read. "Why don't you pack up before someone helps you?" Emily ignored them at first. She wasn't afraid, she had faced enemies far worse than Travis and his crew. But she also knew violence wasn't the answer. She had fought too long and too hard overseas to bring that fight home. All she wanted was to raise her children in peace. Yet the harassment grew bolder. The men damaged her fences, spooked her horses, and once even tried to siphon fuel from her tractor. Emily reported them to the sheriff, but with little proof and Travis's family being well connected in town, the complaints went nowhere. One evening, as Emily tucked Lily and Jacob into bed, she caught the flicker of headlights across her property. She slipped outside quietly, her senses instantly sharpening. The habits of her training. The awareness of shadows, the sound of gravel under tires, the faint scent of gasoline, came back like muscle memory. From the tree line, she saw Travis and two of. Confused, Travis and his crew tried to scatter, but every step they took was caught on camera, every move documented. And then Emily stepped out of the shadows. She didn't carry a weapon, she didn't need to. Her posture alone, steady and commanding, made the men freeze. Her voice was calm, firm, and carried the weight of someone who had faced death and survived. "You think you're hunters," she said, her eyes locked on Travis. "But you're children playing a dangerous game. And you picked the wrong farm." Travis stammered, trying to muster his usual bravado, but under her unwavering stare, his confidence crumbled. His friends glanced at each other nervously, suddenly unsure of the leader they had followed. Emily held up a small device and pressed play. Their voices, their laughter, their threats, all captured by her cameras. The evidence was undeniable. "This ends tonight," she said. "Leave or face consequences you're not ready for." The men stumbled backward, fear replacing arrogance. But before they fled, Emily added one last blow, "And if you think about coming back, remember this, I was trained to hit a target at 1,000 yards. Do you really want to test me?" Silence. Then the sound of tires squealing as they tore away. But the story didn't end there. The sheriff, presented with undeniable evidence, had no choice but to act. Travis and his crew were fined heavily for damages, forced into community service, and placed under watch. Word spread quickly through the town, and while some people whispered about Emily's past, most looked at her with newfound respect. Yet Emily knew fear and punishment alone wouldn't change hearts. That came from compassion. So one day, weeks later, she found Travis working community service at the town square. His arrogance was gone, replaced by shame. She approached him quietly, her children watching from a distance. "Travis," she said softly. He stiffened, expecting anger. But her voice was calm. "You've made mistakes. We all have. But you don't have to be this man forever. My door isn't open to your hate, but it is open to change. You want to make something of yourself? Start now." Travis didn't answer. Not then. But her words stuck. Months later, he appeared at her farm, not with threats, but with tools. He offered to help repair what he had broken. Emily let him. Not because he deserved forgiveness yet, but because her children needed to see that even those who cause pain can be given a chance to grow. Years later, Lily and Jacob would tell the story often of the quiet farm, of the bullies who thought strength meant cruelty, and of their mother, the woman who had once been a sniper but chose compassion over revenge. Emily's farm flourished, not because of crops or livestock alone, but because of the respect and kindness that eventually grew in its soil. And every sunset, as she watched her children play in the fields, Emily Carter reminded herself of a truth she had carried. His friends laughing as they spray-painted vulgar words across her barn. Emily clenched her jaw. The sniper in her wanted to strike back, to make them regret every step they took on her land. But the mother in her hesitated. Violence could protect, yes, but it could also wound her children in ways no bullet ever could. So instead of confronting them then, she stepped back into the shadows. Watching. Waiting. Calculating. The breaking point came on a Saturday afternoon. Emily was in town, selling eggs at the farmer's market with Lily and Jacob, when Travis swaggered up to her booth. He leaned across the table, his smirk dripping arrogance. "You really think you can keep this farm running by yourself?" he sneered loud enough for others to hear. "Single mom with 2 kids, barely making ends meet? Farms like yours are just waiting to be swallowed up." Emily met his gaze without flinching. "Buy your eggs, Travis, or move along." His smirk widened. "Maybe I'll buy the whole farm instead. Then you won't have to worry about working so hard." The crowd around them shifted uncomfortably. Small towns thrived on gossip, and Emily could feel the whispers beginning. But she refused to give him the satisfaction of seeing her rattled. That night, when they returned home, the barn was worse than before. Windows shattered. The paint stripped with acid. Chickens missing. And scrawled across the wooden planks in dripping black letters. "Get out." Emily stood frozen, her children beside her, their small hands clutching hers tightly. She could hear Lily whisper, "Mom, what do we do?" In that moment, something inside Emily shifted. The soldier she had buried deep within herself stirred. She realized this wasn't just about her farm anymore. It was about her children's safety, their future, their right to live free of fear. And Emily Carter, quiet mother, gentle farmer, grieving widow, remembered that she was also once Sergeant Carter, Green Beret sniper. That night, after tucking her kids in, Emily pulled out a locked trunk from under her bed. Inside were remnants of her past, a uniform folded with precision, medals she had never displayed, photographs of brothers and sisters in arms. At the bottom lay her old rifle, disassembled but polished. She didn't need it for what she was about to do. But holding it reminded her of who she truly was. She spent the next week preparing. She reinforced her fences, installed motion sensors, and rigged subtle traps around the property, not to harm, but to expose. She set up hidden cameras, ensuring everything was documented. And she trained her children, not with fear, but with calm instruction, where to hide, how to call for help, how to stay strong. Then she waited. When the bullies came again, they weren't laughing for long. The moment they stepped onto her property, floodlights flared to life, blinding them. An alarm blared, echoing through the valley. Dogs barked furiously from the barn. Startled and